Right, so we're recording and thank you for having me here today. I think it's a great time of year to think about setting goals as you're working towards your production and crop plan for the 2025 season. I'm Shannon Dill. I'm with University of Maryland Extension, and I'm based on the Eastern Shore of Maryland in Talbot County, and happy to be here today to talk about setting goals for your farm business. So goals are really a statement of what an individual, family, or business wants to achieve. And I just loved this word cloud. I just pasted it in here this morning, just as a reminder of all of those things that goals mean. And it's really important to us as farm owners, as families, as business owners to think about those next steps. So target, mission, objectives, achieve, aim, long-term, future, inspiration. So thinking about all of those things that it could entail, and we'll be categorizing those into different types of categories for your farm business, and then both short-term and long-term goals. So goal setting is used to really help you provide focus and direction for management. And if you're like me, I don't know how many list makers we have out there, but I have a list for everything, a list for at home, things that I want to do, maybe when I get around to it, things that need to be done right away. And it does help me focus and have some direction. So when I accomplish one goal, I can kind of come back to that list, look at it, see what makes sense to tackle next. So it really does help with focus and direction. And for me, that I'm not missing something. It helps to serve as reference points, and especially in your business as you're working towards a goal, it helps you serve as, okay, we've reached this, or we need to take these extra steps. It can help aid in decision planning. So thinking about making purchases and investments, what to grow, what not to grow, some of those type of things. So setting these goals can help in decision making. I really like this, that it can serve as a rallying point for your family or management team. So whether you have employees or not, maybe it's the family. If there's written goals and you can see that you're starting to accomplish those and get there, you can be excited about it and maybe gain some momentum. And it can help support long-term sustainability and succession planning of that farm. So it really helps as you meet those goal markers to help with the long-term parts of the farm business. So I'm hoping today I can share with you some steps that you can take as you set goals for 2025 in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. So thinking about assessing your farm needs. Evaluate your current performance. Where are you at now? What happened last year? What is that touch point? And as you think about your year-end taxes, maybe you do your balance sheet this time of year, you're doing all of those kind of record-keeping things. You're sitting in front of your finances. You can look at that performance. You can look at what did you grow that year? How was operations? Maybe there's some environmental things that you want to do and work towards. Identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you haven't done this as a business, there's lots of information and tools out there to do a SWOT analysis, but it really is very helpful in identifying where your internal strengths and weaknesses are and what are external opportunities and threats to your farm business and really the success as you move forward. So a SWOT analysis is really a great practice to have and process to go through. Understanding market demands and trends. So seeing a lot out there about what consumers are looking for. I mean, the hype right now with eggs and chickens and all of that. Who knows what the spring and summer will bring. So, what are those market demands and trends that you're seeing and can work towards? And then engaging family members and stakeholders in planning. As you know, having a small business, a farm business, even small business family operation, it's really important to have that engagement and buy-in from your family members and stakeholders. So please involve them in the process as you work towards and continue to develop your goals. So a farm business goals, and I'd like for you to think about how you might group your goals, and I kind of throw this out there because I think, to me, logically, with looking at like a business plan, or as I'm talking as an advisor or consultant to people, dividing it into these areas, I think work really, really well. So production is what you're growing. What is the product? Thinking about yields, thinking about quality or efficiencies. Maybe that's where different kinds of varieties go into play, where you're going to plant the crops this year. What does your crop rotation look like? So what are your production goals for your farm business? The next is thinking about your marketing. How are you selling that product? What are your goals for sales, for distribution? Maybe there's advertising. You want to try a different channel of advertising or a different demographic that you want to advertise to. So you could group goals in and have them under your marketing section. Financial goals. And I think sometimes that's probably what we think about most often, is setting goals is definitely in that profitability side of things. Are you looking at growing net worth? Is there some cash flow things that you want to think about? Maybe it's the enterprise budget and cost of production or cost per unit of output. So thinking about financial goals. The fourth might be legal, and this could be, I often see these in long-term goals, is working towards an estate plan, land preservation, some of those legal things that you need to take steps towards, insurance, some of those kind of things that you may want to make sure that you're covered with. Contracts could all fall under legal farm business goals. The next one is personnel, and this might be related to management, working with employees or recruiting employees, employee training. Maybe it's hiring or skill sets or expertise. Maybe it's training that you want to go to. So, I need to learn more on record keeping. I'm going to take a QuickBooks class, or maybe I'm going to take some Excel classes so I can learn more about spreadsheets. So what is that personnel development? And then I would definitely and highly encourage you to think about your personal goals within your family, whether it's assets, quality of life, and some things that you may want to do as a family or you personally. And you don't want to lose sight of those as you're working towards your farm business. I also like to group them at least as long or short term and long term. You may even want to think midterm. So, to me, short term is within the next 12 months. Midterm might be, within, from 12 months to 3 years out. And then long term is 5 years or 8 years or more. So thinking about short term and long term goals and what you're working towards. I think it's important because a lot of times the short term and the priority, like what needs to be done today, is easy to do over and over again. And you need to make sure you're working towards those long-term things that you want to see happen. So don't lose sight of those long-term goals. So we're moving from, kind of grouping these, and I've got some examples I'll show later, but grouping these goals to how you set those. So some ways to set goals, you can look at your past activities. Okay, what did we do last year? What was good? What was bad? What do we need to make some improvements on? Where do we need to make some investments? Maybe it's assessing the family and farm resources. What do we have access to? Is there a parcel that needs to be improved? Is there some training that needs to be done? What do we know and what can we work towards? Really having a general management plan is critical as you're working towards this, and setting down time to think about the business with a clear space that you can sit down. Maybe you're going to review finances, you're going to do some marketing, you're going to look at some seed catalogs, any of those kind of things. But have that management plan where you're dedicating some time to sit down and really think about the business side of your farm. The fourth is identify and establish specific goals and objectives. And we'll talk more about how to, maybe defining what is specific and SMART goals. Then you're going to need to prioritize. And, I have lots of ideas and I get many, I write down my goals. But at some point, you're going to have to prioritize those. What comes first? What is the most important for the next 12 months to work towards? You're going to have to prioritize because you're definitely not going to be able to accomplish all the goals that you want to have around your farm in those 12 months. So prioritization is really important. The next is develop plans of action and implementing goals. And I think, again, that's that to-do list. All right, here's my marketing goal. What do I need to do to accomplish that? And I think oftentimes many people write down the goals, but then don't kind of implement that plan of action. And always measure your progress and reassess if needed. It's okay if your goals change. It's okay if you say, we were working towards this, but it's time that we pivot or make that change, or, let's transition and do go another path. And that's okay too. Take that time to pause and reassess. So anyone that's taken a business class or been around business planning, you're going to hear SMART goals. And I do think that they are of value working with farm businesses and developing business plans. SMART goals are really important to think about as you develop the next steps. And I'll show you some examples, but you want them to be specific. So what do you want to do? You need action items. You need to clearly define what you want to achieve. They need to be measurable. Can you measure the progress and know if they were met? This includes numbers in your goals and targets, and include criteria to track that progress. Are they achievable? Is it in your power to accomplish it? Are they possible to accomplish and attain? So set some realistic expectations. So, maybe you're trying to fit a long-term goal into the 12 months. That may not be achievable. So really think about that and be realistic to you. It needs to be relevant. These goals need to make sense to you and your farm business. It's going to need to improve the business in some way. And you want to align the goals with the farm vision and mission and what you're working towards. And the last one is timely. And I've talked about short-term and long-term. Establish some kind of timeline. Be specific on the date or time frame that you want to be working towards. And this keeps you accountable so you can continue to work. You might reassess and say, okay, this was, maybe I need to move it a couple more months. But setting some time frames is really helpful to achieving your goals and SMART goals. So try to avoid some goal pitfalls. Try not to make them too lofty. It's very easy to set some really high expectations for ourselves. We see pictures on the internet, we hear people talk about certain things, and it's easy to want all of that at one time. And we need to understand and be that realistic piece that say, we need to take steps towards this, especially if you're working on an off-farm job. You've got other demands with family. So don't make them too lofty. Don't try to do too many things at one time. Okay. Especially in beginning farmers, it's easy to get excited about a lot of different products and things. Do what makes sense for you, what you have the resources to do, what you have the time to do. Burnout is a real thing, farming. And so, make sure that you're not trying to do too many things at one time. Overemphasizing number estimates. And as we encourage people to go out and look at cost of production or sales volume, I like to use sort of a low, medium, and high number. Okay. What if my yield is low, medium, or high? Because there's considerations on all of those, right? If I'm not growing enough, what if I grow more than what I have? What am I going to do with that excess? Same with pricing expectations. What about low, medium, and high? And doing some of those kind of sensitivity analysis, like, okay, what happens if, and there's what if scenarios. Don't leave yourself vulnerable to unexpected events. So if there's some risk management things that you can put into place, try to protect yourself. Try to fail to use all the information available to you. And what happens is, a lot of people like that half full category. So they're looking at things maybe from a half full side. Make sure you're using all the information that you have access to as you're making these decisions. Um, don't make goals without including all decision makers in it. Farming is a family affair. And so making sure you have buy-in from everyone about a new enterprise or a new crop or a new market. Find out what people think. If you've got a mentor, farm mentor that you're working with, or someone from private industry, touch base with them, pick their brains about, what do you think about this? We're working towards that. And don't ignore good plans once you develop them. If you feel solid about a plan that you've developed, stay behind that. It's okay to reassess and change, but don't ignore a good plan if as you get doing and you hear all this other outside chatter. So try to kind of, if you set a plan in place, continue to work towards that plan. As I mentioned, prioritizing is definitely going to be a key thing that you need to do. And how do you prioritize things? Which goals are the most important for your family and farm well-being? What are short-term goals, things that you can accomplish in a very short time to work towards? Which short-term goals might conflict or impede long-term goals or don't support your long-term goals? So, looking at those and going, I'm doing this in the short term, but it's not working towards where I want to be in the future. And then which goals are so important that they should be attained, even if it prevents reaching other goals. So think about that as you're trying to manage your time. Again, with all of the other things going on, sporting events with your kids or, team activities, family events, which goal needs to be attained, even if it prevents reaching other goals. So you've got some goals planned. You've gone through kind of a SMART goal process. Now it's time to create that action plan, that list of to-dos. What do I need to do to make this goal become a reality, right? So it might take breaking down goals into smaller, manageable tasks. All right. It might be assigning responsibilities among family members and employees. Perhaps it's setting some deadlines and milestones. Okay. I want to get my financial records. I want to get my taxes in by, February 15th. I want to get them into my accountant to look at. What are the things I need to do? Okay, I need to find out my 1099s. I need to run some bank statement reports. I need to go through my receipts. I mean, think about those action items that need to do and that deadline. And then, I love to work my way back and say, okay, if this is the date I need it, this is what I need to do to get there. And then be sure that you're allocating resources. There might be, you know, labor needed or equipment or, some expertise that you're going to need to allocate in getting to that goal. Financial being one of the big ones, you need equipment or you want to look at, your production plan for 2025. There are some fiscal and financial planning that you need to do as you look towards this year's crop. So creating that actionable plan and getting it in writing, whether you use a tablet every once in a while, get a really fancy notebook and some gel pens, and try to get myself organized and excited about this planning side of this time of year. So I said that I'd share some examples, and there's one I didn't add on here, and we'll add that fourth one in. But these are actually ones that I have heard from farmers that we work with coaching, especially our beginning farmer team. I want to be online. Okay. That's a great goal, but be online isn't a smart goal, right? So what do you want to do? I want to increase website traffic by 30% in the next year. Okay. So we're going to throw out maybe more of a smart goal. We've got something measurable. We've got what it is. We've got a timeline, within the next year, I need to do this. So then my action items and action questions would be, okay, do you have a website? What's on it now? How would you drive people to the site? What are some action items if you want to increase your web traffic by 30%? Another goal that I've heard before is I want to sell more. I want to sell more product. Okay. Well, that's not quite a smart goal. A smart goal might be increase market sales by 25% in the next 2 years. All right. How are you going to do this? Are you going to go to more markets? Are you going to increase product availability? Are you going to increase your volume? Are you going to change your market? What are some things that you're going to do to increase those market sales? I've heard grow more. All right. Okay. You want to increase your production. What does that mean from maybe a SMART goal? I want to add 2 new varieties of tomatoes in a new high tunnel in 3 years. Okay. What varieties are you looking at? Have you researched what size high tunnel? Where are you sourcing it from? Do you have a site and location laid out? So what are those plans? And again, getting those kind of things written down. I know people say they're up here. I hear that all the time. I know what my goals are. I know what my action items are. But there is something very real about sitting down and outlining some of these steps. And then the feeling of checking them off as you complete those. The fourth I'm going to share with you is a goal, and we use this during our Annie's project classes, is go on vacation. And I think that having some personal goals is very, very important to add in as you're developing and creating your farm business to make sure you're not losing sight of certain things. And I know that, we're so seasonal with our crops, and, many crops have very intense seasons, and then you have a little bit more relaxed seasons, maybe, planning time to do that. So, we'd like to take 1 week's vacation in the mountains in, October. Maybe that is the goal. And so then you can plan for it financially. You can block time off. You can make sure that that's something that you're doing with your family. So don't forget those personal goals as you're working towards and creating your farm business goals. Some goal setting benefits and things that are really worthwhile as you're working through this process. It's important to individuals and families and really the interrelationships, being able to understand where everyone is working towards. And, when we get up on a Saturday morning and the 4 of us, our household of 4, are going 4 different ways, there's no way to know that if we're working towards a very similar goal, if something needs to be. We have small acreage, and it's like, okay, we do have some things to do around here. Let's get this done before we head out. So, it helps us all sort of get on that same page. It allows individual and family goals to be communicated while setting priority goals for your farm. Revisiting goals annually provides a forum for discussion. And again, this time of year, as you're pulling out finances, as you're reviewing your crop plan from 24, looking for 25 or 26, you can sit down and look at those and really talk about them, and strategically plan for them, right? I also find that goal-directed management improves farm efficiency. So when you're working towards something and everyone knows what the end result is supposed to be in those action items, it does help with farm efficiency. And there is something about the feeling of accomplishment and pride when you reach that goal and you're able to kind of check that box and then move towards that next big thing for your farm business. So major benefits in goal setting. As I mentioned earlier, tracking the progress and adjusting goals is definitely something that needs to be built into your management plan and time as a business owner. It's important for regular check-ins and evaluations. Maybe it's with yourself. Okay, I'm going to sit down. Let me get this straight. I do it on my work week. Friday afternoons, I love to sit down and figure out, okay, my week next week needs to look like this. My weekend needs to look like that and get the plan for it. I try to do it on Friday afternoons because some people like it on Sunday evenings, but I like to save my Sunday evenings for dinner and relaxing. But what works for you? Maybe you're a morning person and you're like, okay, Monday mornings, I'm gonna have like a half hour, 45-minute regroup. So tracking and adjusting those goals. If you have tools for monitoring your progress, maybe it's running some reports, maybe it's logging into your credit card statements or your banks or any of those kind of things. How can you monitor your progress? Adjust your goals based on changing circumstances. We know markets change, pricing's changing all the time. How do you adjust for that? And then please take time to celebrate achievements and learn from setbacks. So, take time to reflect, take time to celebrate and really enjoy reaching that goal and working towards the next one. So again, just I want to give you the feeling that, situations may change. It's okay. You're going to need to be flexible. You're farming, you're dealing with Mother Nature, you're dealing with consumers that don't know what they want day to day. So, you're going to have to be flexible and you just learn to roll with um, what you can, what those external things are. You figure out how internally you can deal with those. And so understand that situations may change. The flexibility, planning is great, but then being able to be flexible and recognize that an activity might need to be changed for the overall farm business or really personal health too. You may need to make some evaluation and changes. So, please feel empowered to make those changes as you develop your farm business goals. Part of what I'm going to send is sort of a goal worksheet. This is just something, sometimes I like to sketch things out on a worksheet and then I put it into my book. This is my planning book here. I love to sit down and write in a notebook with some colored pens. I put some Post-its where I need to. And it's sort of my manual moving forward. And I love to reflect on where I've come in a week or a month or even the year. I'll put dates in the front so I know what years, and I keep these so I can look back. I have names and addresses and different points of interest. So whatever works for you, if it's an app, if it's putting things in your calendar I've started recently using some Google Tasks, which is a way that I can put it in my calendar. So, goal setting, working through a worksheet and then getting things down on paper, so it can guide you in that management process. There's so many things that you're going to need to be thinking about as a business owner that having things written down is just extremely helpful in moving your business forward. So I did have some resources. I've got my email here, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you'd like to put them in the chat. And hopefully you can work towards writing down and getting some SMART goals in place as you look forward to this coming growing season and beyond.